John Murphy at Murtech.com with your daily news update. Okay, I'm starting out a little early. Normally I do this about 10 o'clock, but starting out here about 22 minutes early in case there are people out there that want to see what's going on. Here we are on March the 18th in the year of our Lord 2026. And as usual, I got a lot of great information for you, so let's go ahead and jump over here to Murtech on Rumble. This is my live stream tonight, episode 1861. Let's jump into this. Let me pause this and close out the live chat. Okay, let me slide down here and click the Show More button to expand out the description box. We have information from Dan Bongino, Doug in Exile, Anthony Brian Logan, and Wendy Bell. But before we get into that, I do have some shout-outs to give. From Palette Man XL, just started following my channel. Bullshit4 just started following my channel. Dilly D51 just started following my channel. And Faster Fred just started following my channel. So thank you very much, folks, for following my channel. I greatly appreciate that. I hope you're tuned in, and I hope you enjoy the content. Okay, Debbie BS reposted my episode 1858. And I guess somebody gave a comment on that, but I didn't get their name. Sorry. Debbie BS reposted my episode 1860. Debbie BS commented on my daily news wrap-up last night. Debbie BS commented on my episode 1860. And Debbie BS also commented on my extra 643A. Debbie BS and ASD891011 commented on my extra 641B. Foxy Grandma and Debbie BS commented on my extra 643C. So thank you very much, folks, for your comments and reposting my video. I greatly appreciate your support, and I enjoy reading your feedback. So let me give this a thumbs up. Boom. There we go. And if you could give me a thumbs up here on my video, right there it is, the thumbs up icon just below the video you're watching right now. Okay, let's check this out from Dan Bongino. Joe Kent is wrong, and so is his explanation, episode 2475. Okay, well, let's check it out. Let's get going on this.
Let's go. So I know it's probably annoying. My lips are really dry. I was in Colorado with the mountain air. Beautiful state, by the way. But my skin is really ridiculously dry because I'm used to the humid weather in Florida. So sorry about that. If it's really annoying, my apologies in advance. All right. Let me put up this tweet, and this is what I'm talking about. I don't know this individual in the tweet, but doesn't make the tweet any less wrong. I saw this from an account called at the Moderate Case. It popped up this morning. I want you to listen to every word of this. Everyone, stop your grinning and drop your lid and hot tip Bill Paxton and pay attention to this. It is super important. Joe Kent immediately planning a podcast with Tucker Carlson after his resignation should come as no surprise. My thought is that many politicians are gearing up for the future of Trump and MAGA and exiting now, saving face and avoiding any public scrutiny for any political roles they may play in the future. Kent was vehemently against Iran and continuously called him a threat, saying America needed to take military action years ago. But now, all of a sudden, quote, it's a war for Israel. Kind of weird, no? Let me put this out there in advance now. Can you keep that up on the screen? Because I want just the audience, if you're listening on Apple and Spotify, you can go watch, and it's up on the screen. You can go to Twitter and check out at Moderator. Okay, this is said here is pretty accurate. Joe Kent served this country patriotically. That is a fact. Those statements are beyond questioning. Joe Kent lost his wife in an incredible act of heroism and patriotism for this country. Period. Guys, when I say full stop, I mean full stop. However, that did not make every single opinion after that act of bravery and service and heroism on the part of him and his family. That does not make every opinion after that beyond questioning. I never asked you to do that to me. And keep in mind, I haven't made 1 million to the sacrifice, Joe Kent. Not even close, not even worth talking about. I wasn't even in the military. I lost a family member I hadn't even met, my Uncle Greg, but I hadn't even met him. He died in Vietnam before I was even gone, and it destroyed my family. I can't imagine what that's like. But folks, we live in a world where if you're in a position of power, you know, what you do matters and what you say matters. And you're open to questioning just like I was. There are a lot of people out there right now. You see people, they take shots at us all day. One of them I'll address later is not even true. It's like totally made up. I'm not trying to shut anybody down or anything like that. But that does not make your opinion necessarily valid if you're basing it on things that are just not true. I did an appearance last night, Laura Ingraham. And I'm going to tell you something. The conclusions drawn in Joe Kent's resignation letter, this was some war for Israel and Iran is not a threat. Folks, I got to tell you something. I don't know what intelligence he was reading to come to that conclusion. He clearly had a different opinion in the past repeatedly in podcast appearances and tweets where he indicated it was a threat. I mean, I don't know how you would come into that job with having drawn the conclusion already in podcast appearances and in your tweets that Iran's a threat, read the intel, which he had access to, especially the foreign stuff, and then come to the conclusion Iran was not an imminent threat. Ballistic missile technology, the explosively formed penetrators, their drone technology advancing at a rapid rate, their anti-ship ballistic missiles, the shield they were building around their nuclear program. Even though their sites had been destroyed, they still had nuclear over 400 kilograms. They were clearly reconstituted. And because the intel was everywhere. There was no way to miss this. And not to mention, the president takes out their military enrichment facilities for nuclear weapons in Midnight Hammer. He by the way, gives them like between Trump 45 and Trump 47 and his prior statements, like 2 decades of warning that he's really not happy with this. He finally takes them out, thinks, okay, now maybe they'll have their moment and they'll wake up and realize this isn't going to work. And they don't. They double down. What do you want the president to do? Let them build a nuclear weapon and destroy us? Is that even, how much more imminent do you need? Folks, hold on a sec. Been important, okay? We're in a war right now. We are in a war right now that's been going on for decades between the civilized man and the savage. The savage who attacked us on 9/11, the savages who inspired people who attacked us over the past few months, the savages who've engaged in terror attacks from San Bernardino to Palm Springs to Detroit, all the way across the country to New Orleans. We are in a civilizational war of a group of Islamo-radical fanatics, call them what they are, whose motto is first we get the Saturday people and then we get the Sunday people. They don't give, listen to me, they don't give a shit what you think. You can look them right in the face as a Christian, Catholic, Jew, Buddhist, Hindu, it doesn't matter, and say, I'm with you, brother. And you know what they're going to say? Off with his head. They will still kill you. They don't give a shit. Dan, why do you support our continued relationship with the Israelis in the region? Because they've been mowing the lawn for us for freaking 20, 30 years. It's a strict national security transaction from a guy who has spent a ton of time in the region, been on the federal law enforcement side, been on the counterterror side, and I've seen this body of intelligence. You know how many briefings we've got on this issue? You never get a briefing saying, hey, you better be careful for those Jewish terrorists that are coming for you and the president. We were in the Secret Service. You never get that briefing. Yet whether it was Indonesia and what was it, Jamaat Islamiyah, and there were all these Islamo-radical groups. All you would do is get briefings. ISIS, QAP, Al-Qaeda, Hezbollah. I mean, it goes on and on and on. You have two sides, the off with your head side and the other side, like, please don't cut our heads off. This is not complicated. But these people have such vile hatred that they're willing to have their own heads lopped off to prove some silly point. It is the craziest thing I've ever seen. Folks say this all the time. I'm not Jewish. I'm Christian. However, there's a group of people going to kill me and a group of people who don't. Kill me, don't kill me. Kill me, don't. Which side? Anybody have which side are you guys going to pick? Is it unanimous? It's unanimous. I've taken a vote. They're like, we just would rather ally with the people killing the people who want to kill us. Oh, okay. The problem is, and these are always difficult because you get the bots, you see them in the chat now. We hate the Jews. We get it. You're a guy in a room, you know, probably tentacle porn in the background. Your Pop-Tart in front of you with 600 different phones lined up on a wall. Someone's paying you. We hate the Jews. We get it. We get it. You think we're not on to the bot bullshit? You think we don't know what's going on? You think I'm new at this? Think I haven't seen this before? I'm trying to help you. I promise. It's fairly obvious when you're in that job I was in, you get to see things. Do you really believe? You really believe like Donald Trump is being dragged around and dog walked by the Israelis? If anything, he's called out the Israeli government. Gosh, we've taken shots at Israeli government officials over and over. How many times we play that Ehud Barak video? Like 10 times? That knucklehead over there? Here's the problem we have now. The problem in the movement, because it's not our movement, okay, is you have the Mancur Olson problem. Pay attention to this. This is important. Mancur Olson on collective action. You should look this up. Mancur. I think it's Olson. Mancur Olson. He has this theory on collective action that when you get an issue where there's a concentrated interest between a small group of people, but rather diffuse cost to everyone else, the small group of people can do amazing things. And I don't mean amazing being good or bad. I mean amazing in a qualitative way. They can move mountains. Think about like unions, for example, they have a concentrated interest. They want this tax benefit that's going to benefit them. No one else in the general public's following this tax benefit, but there we go. Thank you, guys. Mancur Olson's theory of collective action. Rational individuals often fail to cooperate to achieve common goals, even when it's in their best interest. Collective action is the opposite. That when you get these, think of work union. I'm not knocking unions. I'm just saying they have a concentrated interest in bettering their union and their salary. You're not following this every day. The cost to you is diffuse. You've never even heard of the story. To them, it is real. This is the problem we have with people trying to infiltrate our movement. You have this small army of less than probably 1% of the movement, and their bots which make it seem like it's like 10%. It's not. We've seen it ourselves. It's like 1% movement, but they collectively want to blame everything on the Jews because they hate the Jews. That's it. All rationality's gone out the window. And because you're working in your everyday life, you don't have time to follow this stuff on Twitter all day. You just see it happening and hear like there's infighting going on. And then you see, I saw this week, we got some knuckleheads on our side again, like, hey man, we got to stop the infight. Stop the infight. The movement's being hijacked by fucking lunatics, pardon my language. I don't know about you, but I've been through the Tea Party. When we realized like the GOP had lost its focus and we thankfully pulled it back, we had some successes out of that. I wish they would have stayed long term. We had the BCA and other things. I don't know about you, but like I said, I put my name on a ballot. It didn't work out, but I just had the fucking balls to do it. You got these people, we're going to stop the, we should just let these people hijack the party with crazy stuff like the Jews in Israel did everything. They have this one concentrated interest. Israel. That's it. That's it. I care deeply about the issue from the national security perspective. I said it many times. However, it's one of 100 things I'm interested because I am America first. That's the real America first. And the real America first is picking allies where the relationship benefits us and prevents our freaking heads from getting lopped off. That's fucking America first, bro. All right, so more cursing. I just got to stop that. I'm sorry. I know people listen with kids. The problem with a lot of this discourse, folks, is everything to the collective action group, the insiders, who all they care. Everything is about Israel. Everything. Everything is Donald Trump has no agency at all. Donald Trump is so weak that Israelis are dragging him around. Have you even been in a meet? Do you have any idea what's going on? I'm telling you, like, I've been there. You're so full of shit, you have no idea. He's probably the one president of anything who questions everything as a spreadsheet. He has no ideological predicate to this at all, other than how does this benefit us? And again, these people saying, like, oh, it's infighting. I saw it this weekend. Peace that won nuclear. Like, oh, we got a problem. No, we don't have a problem. It's not us with the problem. You got people trying to take our movement and steal it. The party is lost its way. I've said 1,000 times, if this is going to be a movement stigmatizing an entire group of people because you just don't like them, I count me the fuck out, man. No way. I ain't part of that because it's all America, all you damn right. Cut your heads off or kill the people who cut your heads off. That's it. You got a bunch of dipshits trying to steal the movement who, by the way, have never done anything. Just ask them a simple question. Have you ever actually been in a national security briefing? Have you ever held a clearance? Have you ever actually been in law enforcement? Have you ever been in a counterterrorist space? The answer to every single one of those questions with these chuckleheads is no. So why? I don't understand why you give a shit about their opinion. Why does it matter? They know nothing. They're allowed to have it. A lot of them are very charismatic. They pretend they know stuff. They've never actually been ever in a briefing. They don't know anything about how any of this stuff works. It is unbelievably frustrating. Folks, I've lived through the Tea Party thing. The party did lose its way. And we bought it back. We brought it back and got a lot of great people in there. It's losing its way now, too, if this is going to be the way forward. Now, I'm going to say again, Joe Kent is a friend of mine and has been a friend for a long time. I've had him on his show. But my job here is not to have friends. I mean, on the outside, I can have friends. My job here is to tell you the truth. And if we blow it, and we'll correct it. His history of service and sacrifice, again, is beyond question. Here's a matter of fact, a photo of me and him working together. We went and had a meeting over at NCTC. I mean, he smiles. Joe was always a friend of mine, but he's just not right about this, folks. He's just wrong. I'm going to take a quick break because I'm a little emotional about this whole thing. And when I get back on the other side of break, I'll go into the tweet, the resignation, and what I think he was wrong about. I don't blame the guy for resigning. If you can't and don't want to enact a presidential policy, then resign. That had nothing to do with me, folks. You can listen to all the bullshit all you want. The president came on the show as a guest the first time because everybody knew at the end of the year I was leaving. I was never the long-term solution. Anyone telling you otherwise is bullshitting you. Yeah, he was so mad. He came on the show as the first guy. It's just all bullshit. That's not the way to do it.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause that there. And I will include this in my daily news wrap-up so you can see the rest of this. It's got about an hour and 10 minutes left in this video, but let me move on here. Clicking on the Rumble link, it does take us to the Dan Bongino Show. I am following his channel. I have given him a thumbs up. This is the video I just shared with you. All right, let's jump back here. And hi, Debbie BS and Susie Poll 2016. Thank you for joining us in the chat. Anybody else want to join us? Would be happy to see you. Okay, Doug in Exile. Trump just dropped a bombshell and Iran is defeated. Okay, let's see what he's got to say about this.
Oh, welcome to Doug in Exile. This is where the happy patriots are. The show where you are the hero because you're going to decide everything in the future based on how you vote and how you talk about these things online. So I'm here to be your guide and give you my insight. I'm not a brilliant guy. I've told you guys before, I'm a barely literate comic book artist. I'm just reading the news, and as I explain them for myself, I explain them to you. So let's get to this first
Sorry about that. Just kind of blinked out on me there. There we go.
Exile. This is where the happy patriots are. The show where you are the hero because you're going to decide everything in the future based on how you vote and how you talk about these things online. So I'm here to be your guide and give you my insight. I'm not a brilliant guy. I've told you guys before, I'm a barely literate comic book artist. I'm just reading the news, and as I explain them for myself, I explain them to you. So let's get to this first article. This is from Caroline Leavitt, the press secretary, retweeted by Hugh Hewitt, one of my favorite guys in the world here. She says, must read Wall Street Journal op-ed on the overwhelmingly negative coverage on Operation Epic Fury in Iran, which continues to be a highly successful military campaign against a terrorist regime. Notice she has stated only facts. So those are the facts that I bring you, right? That this is a highly successful military campaign against a terrorist regime. That's not opinion. So what people will try to tell you to spin in your mind is go, oh, that's just what you believe. That's just what you think. No, that is empirically demonstrated. It cannot be argued that this is a highly successful military campaign by any measure against a terrorist regime. We are combating the fake news daily at the White House. So I only want to say that, like, Trump is actually leading what I'm presenting to you. I'm following him. The media has gotten so bad about this war that he is addressing it. Pete Hegseth has addressed it. Caroline Leavitt has addressed it. Top-tier Republicans are addressing it. People are being lied to, and it's going to affect this war, so they have to defend it from the pulpit. And it's safe to say the American left-wing media is sadly rooting for Trump and the U.S. military to fail. They are in support of our terrorist enemy. They hate Trump and they desire power so much. That's really what this is about, is the desire for power is so great with the Democrats that they will root for an enemy because the enemy is not an immediate threat to them. They're not, a nuclear bomb is not dropping out of the sky on their house. The moment that happens, that a nuclear bomb is coming down on their house, they'd go, Trump, why didn't you do something about this? But that threat is in the future. Their immediate threat to a Democrat is we don't have power. So everything they're doing is to address that threat right now. That's my opinion on the subject. And I think it can't be empirically demonstrated, but it starts to make sense of why they do everything they do. So that's what an explanation is, right? Here's that Wall Street Journal headline that she's talking about. Much of the news media seems determined to advance a narrative that Trump is wrong about everything and that the U.S. is getting its clock cleaned by a powerful Iranian war machine, writes Mark Penn and Andrew Stein. And the title is, On Iran, Is Only Bad News Fit to Print? I'm not trying to get you guys angry at the news. I really don't care how angry we get. I care about how effective we are. So the other side spews and flips out and just shows great, you already know, cool and methodically. I completely hate and disrespect mainstream media. I absolutely despise them, okay? So I don't have to sit here and scream and call them blah, 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 okay? What I want to know is, what are we going to do about it? And that's why I use my show. I spend a lot of time talking about what the spin is and what opinion is and what mass media is trying to get you and the people to think, and is it effective, and where can we counter it with our own messaging, okay? Now, this is one of the coolest things I've seen in a long time. This is my Chapter ad read. You guys know that Chapter sponsors this show, and I always tell you when I'm getting paid. Unlike Tucker Carlson, success stories on this subject. Here it is from David. I just got off the phone with Chapter and saved roughly they just saved roughly. That's very kind of me on this. Care plan 631-961-8696. My buddies at Chapter. Now we continue on the mass spin cycle that you're getting from the media. Never heard someone say it better than Victor Davis Hanson. You guys know that he's one of my heroes. Here's VDH on, this is an absolutely successful war. There's no failure about it. And the media, we don't understand it.
We're in the second week, just completing it, of the so-called Iran war, this effort of the United States to bomb the theocracy into submission so they will cancel their missile and nuclear programs and to champion the popular protest on the streets that have some potential to get rid of the regime itself. But it's a very...
Now, hold on. Again, I'm just going to say, for people who go, oh, that's just his opinion. That's just your opinion. That's just... No, that is empirical fact. He just gave a string of factual statements. We're going to try and buckle them into submission to prevent them from getting a nuclear bomb and hope that the people uprise and take out that. And it's very successful. It's only been 2 weeks. We have absolutely obliterated all of their military. Okay. Weakened it by 90%. He's going to get into that in a minute. Okay. So those are all facts. That's not opinion. You know what is opinion? That we don't know the conspiracies. Like the Jews are running this whole thing. The Jews are manipulating Trump into going to war on their behalf with Iran. Those are opinions. So I'm only going to say I have to weigh opinion with absolute fact. And so he gave you absolute facts. So I'm trying to teach you guys how to train your mind into grabbing onto empirically true things versus opinion that probably has an agenda like make the Democrat Party stronger, weaken Donald Trump, present the Jews as an evil force. The Jews might be an evil force. I'm not saying they're not. I'm only saying in this case, they did not run this war. They did not manipulate Trump into it. And the people that tell you so, the many thousands of people that believe this garbage are not living in reality.
It's a real war. I don't think any of us have seen anything like it. It's only been 2 weeks and we're told that it's dragging on, that it's a forever war, that we're losing, that the Pentagon and the Trump administration had no plans. And yet, when you look at Iran, this huge country, much, much bigger, much, much more populous than Iraq or Afghanistan, and it has no military left. The Navy is dismantled. The Air Force is dismantled. The Republican Guard, all of these special contingents are under enormous assault. The command and control is destroyed. The missile defense is destroyed. And yet people say that it's unconquerable. It doesn't make any sense. It's output of missiles and drones at the Gulf petrol states and Israel has dropped by 90%. So what's going on? And I think part of the problem is that there's no media coverage. There are no embedded reporters because we are not on the ground. When you don't have a ground fight in enemy territory, you don't have American embedded journalists traveling with the troops that can give diverse opinions, accurate accounts. All we have are the journalists who are allowed into Iran. And that happens to be, guess who? CNN.
So CNN is the only one that's allowed to go into the regime. The regime tells CNN what is acceptable to believe and say. And of course, they hate Trump at all costs. They oppose him at all costs. The only good news is news that makes Trump look bad. And so that's all that they're going to report. Anything that makes him look good, they're going to spin it down and protect that evil regime. That is the enemy. So they're the enemy. We have protesters in America that are the enemy. We have a party, the Democrat Party, that is the enemy of American freedom and freedom, frankly, around the world. Their cancer isn't just for us. Their cancer harms women in Iran. Our greatest export is Democrat evil. We're going to continue to fight them. And this is just the start, guys. Later today, we have the SAVE Act coming with soon. But I always want to give you the biggest detail, which is the war. The next biggest, actually the real biggest detail that we have to focus on is the success of the economy, or find the success in the economy, because that is what Republican Congress is going to be running on later this year. I'm Doug in Exile. Don't forget to call Chapter. Let's try and save you $9,000. 631-96.
Okay, there you have it, folks. Let me show you that this video also comes from Doug in Exile. I am subscribed to his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I thought that was interesting information, and I wanted to share that with you. Okay, let's jump back here. And Susie B63 gave me a chat, so I had to reply to her. All right, let's see what's going on with Anthony Brian Logan. Nick Shirley exposes billion-dollar California hospice fraud. Well, folks, we knew that the fraud is running rampant. And, of course, the Democrats and mainstream media are doing everything they can to cover it up. All right, so let's go ahead and jump over here and see what Anthony Brian Logan, ABL, has to say.
So our favorite independent journalist, Nick Shirley, is back at it again after exposing widespread fraud in Minnesota with the Somalis. He's over in California exposing widespread hospice care fraud. Let's talk about it. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about our favorite independent journalist, Nick Shirley, back at it again. After exposing the widespread fraud in Minnesota with the Somali pirates, he's over in California exposing the widespread hospice care fraud. And if you don't know what hospice is, basically that's where you go before you pass away. If you're very old or you're infirmed, you go there for your final days. That's pretty much what that is. Now, according to Nick Shirley, over the past few years, there's been a 1,000% increase in hospice care funding and hospice cares in general in Los Angeles. Also, 1 out of every $10 spent in the entirety of the US of A for this kind of care is spent right there in Los Angeles. Okay. 1 out of every $10 spent in the whole country for this care spent in Los Angeles. Now, Minnesota was crazy. The Pirates are going crazy with the fraud, but California, in my humble opinion, is truly the belly of the beast of fraud, whether it be hospice or anything else. California is the epicenter of fraud. Now, before I go any further, let's get to a few clips. Of course, I will link to his full, almost 40-minute video in the description box. And also these clips in the description box if you want to see them and hear without my commentary. If you're on IG, Facebook, etc., visit the link in the bio. Go to the corresponding article on the website. But without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
This is the sound of hospice money. So here in this parking lot, you do have some nice cars. You got a Tesla, a nice Mercedes, you got another Tesla, a nice Lexus, another Tesla, a really nice Mercedes right here as well. Another Tesla, Audi, really nice cars.
Now, look at all these beautiful cars and look at how run down this particular thing looks. This looks like something you would see in Training Day or one of these crazy LA gangster movies where they go have a big shootout. Okay, you don't expect to see all these nice, beautiful, big, brand new looking cars in a place like this. I wonder why all those cars are there.
Teslas. A lot of really nice cars for
hospice.
Usually must be very lucrative because a lot of these businesses, these doors right here have nothing on them. All the blinds are turned out. This is what you call welfare maxing. And right as you come out, you're welcomed by 2 nice BMWs, one right here, one right here. Inside of these parking lots too, you'll always find a super nice BMW, Mercedes, you name it, newest Audis. You always find the nicest cars outside of these healthcare and hospice centers.
We headed to the next suspicious hospice location, and what do we find?
A brand new Mercedes. Everywhere we go in this video, going around these hospice and home healthcare centers, there is a nice Mercedes or BMW.
And as we were leaving, one of the fraudsters started to leave from the back in a $200,000 Maybach.
And we have a Mercedes-Benz driving up. Where can we open a hospice at? We'd like to open up a hospice. Get a Maybach just like you. So is this how I can get a Maybach by opening up my own hospice?
Now, after seeing all the wealth that is being created from these hospice centers, I headed back to the original location where we found over 15 hospices in one plaza. And this time, it was even worse.
Sir, how are you? Good. So what do you think about all this hospice fraud? Sir, you're in the Cybertruck, driving away, taking money from old people.
Now, that's a nice wrap on that Cybertruck. I wonder how much he paid for the truck, for the base model, and then for any additions for the wrap, any interior stuff. And again, this looks like a old motel that might have been abandoned like a year ago. And you got Maybach, Cybertruck, Beamer Benz Bentleys, all in the parking lot.
Yet he's just driving away in his Cybertruck, won't even answer any questions. So the 2 people that walked out of Holy Angels, they're in a brand new Cybertruck and a new BMW. How lucrative of a business is hospice? I'm seeing a Cybertruck here in a nice BMW. It's good. How can I get an MA as well? Should I open up a hospice? Driving out in a brand new M8 BMW M8 competition.
Okay.
Listen to this thing. This is the sound of hospice money.
Revenue is crazy.
This is just one of the factors that affects the national debt, and we're going to lose the value of our own dollar. So people If they want to really fight to keep America great, a great way to do it is by fighting fraud, because this is just unbelievable. You have people who drive around in BMWs, M8 competitions, Mercedes. Meanwhile, everyday American citizens are struggling to be able to afford their own bills.
Exactly. Now, a few things before we get to the next clip. You wonder why you see people out in the daytime in a place like California, and they got these nice cars, and they're just going to the gym at,
One of the fraud.
at like 2 p.m. You're wondering why they're able to do that, how they're able to do that. Well, fraud might be the reason. And the guy revving his engine before he left, and the inmate was crazy. It was totally crazy. Now, we have another one. And again, if you want to see the full clip from Nick Shirley on his YouTube channel, I will link to it in the box. But let's keep going.
Let's go to another one that's even more concerning, as kids are left all alone.
Now we're at the Jama Shukri Family Childcare. This place is not in a shopping plaza. It's not anywhere near any place that looks like a place where a daycare would be. In fact, it's actually in one of these apartments right here. So they're able to have daycares inside apartment buildings?
Yes. So I've come across many of these. Some of these are on the third story of an apartment complex. It's only one bedroom, and yet the capacity is for 8 kids.
We just arrived at the daycare. We have 2 kids out here. I don't know if they're members of the daycare. There's no oversight right here. Can we talk to your teacher? Is your teacher there? So this is the first child we've ever encountered at one of these daycares. There's 2 kids out here right now, and we're gonna see if we can talk to the
Licensee. It is, according to this paperwork, Shukri Jama.
Can we talk to the adult?
He's not here.
Not here.
Yeah.
So you guys all by yourself?
Yeah. Open the door.
No one's here.
No one is here. No one is not here.
Completely dangerous. Totally dangerous. The kids are just out there. Anybody can just come snatch them up. And what would happen? Where's CPS at? Where's any kind of parent, guardian, adult? Where's anybody at? And I'm sure these are just kids that happen to live here. Ain't no daycare going on.
Okay, so you guys are all by yourself?
Okay. I can see by myself.
Yeah, okay, that's concerning. No one's watching those children, and they're all by themselves.
My heart is breaking right now. I can't. Unbelievable.
Yeah, and what makes you so emotional as a mother, seeing that those kids are just out by themselves?
Seeing the kids all by themselves. It's supposed to be a licensed daycare, and there's no adult anywhere. What is going on?
And the crazy thing is, California allocates $6 billion to childcare and daycare facilities just like these, and there are over 39,000 facilities in the state.
That's totally crazy. Now, again, there's much more. There's much more, but I want you guys to go watch the full 40-minute video on Nick Shirley's channel. Again, I will link to it in the description box so you can see it there. But look, as I was saying earlier, as I close, this is why you're able to see people just out in the middle of the daytime at Starbucks, at the gym, hot yoga. Okay, it's like 1:45 p.m. on a Tuesday. How are you able to be out here doing all this stuff? Well, I'm not really working. Well, I do work, but I don't really work. I'm stealing money. It's fraud going on. I'm engaged in crime. That's kind of like what's happening. Or maybe they are a trust fund baby. Maybe their parents are the one stealing. There is a whole lot of theft going on, a lot of fraud going on. And some would try to argue that's the American way. No, it's not the American way, because the American way really is hardworking Americans like yourself going out there, working for what you actually earn. And capitalism is based on that, right? Your labor, your efforts. You go out there, you produce things, you do things, you make things, you give labor to the system, and you're rewarded for your labor. The system, whatever that is, whatever you're working for an employer, working for yourself, you produce things, you do things, you have activity, and you're rewarded for your activity. In the case of these people, as it was in Minnesota and all over the country, what they do is just steal from you, because it's your money that funds all this. Let's be clear. The government does not have any money aside from what you give it. Now, they can print and spend money. That's a whole different story. They can print and spend, But when they print and spend, and then they spend it on stuff like this, all that does is make your hard-earned money be worth less. The fraudsters, the thieves, they don't really care because they're going to keep stealing more and more and more to make up for what they lose in inflation. Now, as I close, I'm going to say this. Shout out to Nick, Shirley, and all the independent journalists out there doing their thing to expose the waste, fraud, and abuse. Shout out to Elon Musk for being a tip of the spear with the whole Doge thing. That was very important. Just so we know, just so we understand how much money we are losing to this kind of stuff every single day in this country. And I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? What's your opinion about what's happening with the fraud in this country? Over in Minnesota with the Somali pirates, over in California with the whole country. I mean, everybody just out there. You got Maybach truck, you got M8, you got Cybertruck. All these things, and the place looks like a rundown motel. Like I said, something from Training Day, looking like, you know, somebody that died in there recently. It's clear what's happening. There's fraud, there's waste, there's abuse. And it is us, the U.S. taxpayer, who suffer. There is no upside to the stealing. 'Cause I'm trying to find, okay, is there a rainbow? Is there, silver lining? Nah, it's not, because all it does is just devalue our currency. It devalues our nation. And the services provided, if there are any, are low quality at best. And usually there is no service. It's just fraud. It's just stealing. And that's it. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.
All right, folks, there you have it. Yes, the fraud is rampant. And, of course, the Democrats, for some reason, and the mainstream media just want to cover it up. I don't understand. That's how much they care about the United States, the taxpayers. They let the fraud just run rampant. And they don't try to stop it. They don't even try to stop it. That is so freaking amazing to me. Okay, clicking on the Rumble link takes us over here to the video from Anthony Brian Logan. I'm following his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. Alrighty then, let's jump back here and see what Wendy Bell has to say. Traitors. That's all she has to say. But I'm sure she's going to use a lot of words to say it. So let's take a listen and see what that's all about.
I love watching this president call out everything in the world. He forces Democrats to put all their eggs in all of the wrong baskets. He forces world leaders to show their cards and pledge their allegiance to this thing called America that they apparently don't feel very committed to, hence they're not participating in patrolling the Strait of Hormuz, right? He calls out all people, he puts them on notice, and he forces us to sit back and pay attention to things that we never did before. Again, I always go back to COVID. If you guys weren't so punished, if you weren't living in a blue state with a dictator governor, as I was, here in the land before time, Pennsylvania, you might not have caught on as fast, but you caught on. Everything that was going on was wrong, and it didn't feel right, and you knew it. And they lied to you and covered it up, and the media ran interference, and it sucked. And then all of a sudden, somewhere along your journey, you went, "Pa, wait, what? What's going on?" And now, all of a sudden, I find myself looking forward to go home and watch C-SPAN. Are you out of your mind? You guys, there is no drama on television right now. There's no rerun on Netflix. Nothing that is fascinating and more real than watching who allegedly represent us in Congress and in the Senate. And so now that we've got the SAVE Act, right? We've got the Save America Act. Everybody's behind it. 84% of us. Everybody knows this. It's a major measure that everybody agrees with. We agree. If you want to vote in our elections, you have to be a citizen. And if you're not a citizen and you want to become a citizen, there is a path to do that, but it is a process. And there is a line, and you can't skip the line because that process teaches you about our country. It teaches you about our founding fathers, who, by the way, were brilliant because they predicted an awful lot of things. They put in a lot of measures in our great Constitution to prevent us from being at the precipice that we find ourselves in right now, right? So the SAVE Act is supposed to be on the floor. It passed 51 to 48 to go to debate, right? We're going to agree, which is a huge hurdle. You're like, oh, thanks, senators, right? Thank you for deciding to listen to us, right? It doesn't mean we're even close to getting this thing across the finish line. So I stumbled upon this article this morning, kind of explaining a little bit about it. And it's about Brandon Gill, representative from Texas. And told Newsmax overnight that Senate Republicans should attempt a talking filibuster to pass the Save America Act, countering Senate Majority Leader John Thune's doubts about having enough votes. Having enough votes, we're going to circle back on this. We're going to Jen Psaki and circle back to this whole idea that we just can't get it across the finish line. Therefore, we're not going to try it, which is code Brandon Gill thinks for senators, particularly the Republicans, being too damn lazy to be willing to put in the time for a talking filibuster. What does that mean? Well, everybody who's against what we are for, citizenship and photo ID to vote, has to get up on the Senate floor, i.e. Democrats, and basically talk, explain why, and do it as long as you can, as long as you need. And while they do that, there has to be enough people there present, overnight, weekends, holidays, doesn't matter as long as it takes. And Brandon Gill was like, look, I don't think that you've got a Senate that's willing to put in the time, that's willing to spend the time to do this, which is absolutely embarrassing to me. So I thought I would share with you a few things. See, if our Senate doesn't want to put in the time on the job, then why are they doing the job? Get out of the Senate. How many of you work? What do you work? 40 hours a week? Maybe you work 50, 60. Some of you work outrageous, 80 hours a week or more. You work one job, you go to another job. It is the circumstance that you're in. And I appreciate that. Well, it's not the situation that the Senate is in. Did you know that the Senate has 15 weeks off a year? What do you guys have off? A week, 2? Maybe 2 weeks? If you're lucky, if you're Brock, you get like 4 hours off. You don't have any time off. 15 weeks if you're a sitting U.S. senator. And then when you do work Tuesday through Thursday, that's all they work. They don't work Mondays. They don't work Fridays. They fly back to their constituents and their families. Oh, and by the way, you pay for all of that. You pay for their while they're in Washington. You pay for their transportation to get hither and yon. You pay for it, and they're not willing to put in the time. Well, let's drill down a little bit on this ridiculosity, shall we? All right. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays, when the Senate is in session, that's when the senators actually are there working. Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. How would you like a job that paid you $174,000 base a year to work 3 days a week, basically considering you'll probably have a long drinking lunch, probably work 7 hours those 3 days, maybe work 24 hours a week, but when you factor in all the time off, it really is only about 15 hours a week that the senators work. And they're unwilling to show up and get this across the finish line. I pity all of you Republican senators who want to play this game with the American people, because it's not going to end well for you, I can tell you. Okay, so they worked only 5 Fridays, the Senate did, in 2025. 5 Fridays. How would you guys love a 4-day weekend every single week that you showed up to work, knowing full well that 15 of the weeks you don't have to because you're off? Is that a pretty cushy job? Do you think that maybe you would be willing to show up and work really hard the hours that you have? You'd think so, but no. Did you know that each member of the Senate gets up to $1.1 million, your money that you spend for them to travel for free so they can fly back to their home, back to see their families and forth, back and forth, and their spouse sometimes can accompany them. In fact, when you put in staff and spouses, each senator, it's kind of a school budget of about $3.5 million just for travel. So out of the gates, before we even move on and do anything, you're already looking at what? $150 million a year in U.S. taxpayer funds so that this doesn't have to work. Now, Beyond that, you also pay for their meals because God forbid you should show up and have to buy your own coffee or have to get your own bagel or your own burger at lunch. And it's not like your per diem would be. What would you normally spend? If you don't brown bag it on the way to work, what do you spend? Maybe $15 for lunch? If you're going through Chick-fil-A, are you getting out of there by yourself under $15? Probably not. Well, it pays to be a U.S. Senator because they get $96 a day. How hard would it be for you to spend $96 a day every single day that you're working in the Senate? Because that's what they get. So at the end of it all, we spend $350 million a year so that the Senate doesn't have to do its job. Are you out of your mind? And then what is also a little curious, I'm just thinking about 1.5, 1.5% of the American people, we the people, are millionaires, 1.5%. It's a very, very small number. The majority of the rest of us, right? We're brown bagging, working at 40 to 100 hours a week, whatever it is. Oh, in the Senate, 73 out of the 100 senators are millionaires or billionaires, 73%. And yet they don't want to show up and do the job. They get 15 weeks off a year. They work average, if you factor that in, about 15 hours a week. They don't pay for their own transportation. They don't pay for their own food. And so they don't want to show up. Exactly why? Because they've gotten really damn used to doing nothing. Right? Isn't that sort of like the Somalians in Minneapolis and beyond? Getting really used to doing nothing, running scams, no oversight, nobody really checking, until a 23-year-old YouTuber comes filming, and then it's outrage, death threats. What are you doing? Kill him, right? Who else do we have not wanting to do a whole lot? I think we could probably add a lot of people to that category. This is the one time. This is the one hill. This is the one issue. This is the one everything. This is the hill to die on. And so I have a message to every single Republican senator. We're watching you. I'm watching you. I go home and I watch you and I listen to what you say and I expect you to show up and do your job. So get off your ass and get it done. Signed, America. When we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program, like voter ID, it seems Operation Epic Fury is wildly approved by the vast majority of Americans. Despite all of the fake news headlines, despite all the Democrats who were like, oh my God, we did what to Iran? Yeah, you'll like this one next on the Wendy Bell Radio Network.
All right, she definitely knows how to deliver the truth, doesn't she? Okay,
business, and you got
let's see where
lost a computer yesterday.
I typically play here.
I love new bumper music. Welcome back to the Wendy Bell Radio program. You got to love this. It's been a doozy of a week for us already, and it's only hump day. Monday and Tuesday, we had our clock blowout after we had this storm that fried everything. Brock lost a computer yesterday, so we lost all of the music. He had to hardwire. He MacGyvered things with wires and gum and string and what have you. Now we're back in business, and you guys are here strong, and I'm just delighted. Thank you for hanging with us. Okay, so let's talk about this. Operation Epic Fury. I printed out some of the headlines that we've been hearing from the fake news, right? CNN putting out this story with stakes rising in Trump's Iran war. The pressure is on for the admiral running U.S. Central Command. With a breakout story about an absolute nightmare, a couple who got married in the Maldives or stranded after Iran war broke out. That's important for everybody, right? How about this from the New York Times? Entering war's third week, Trump faces stark choices. With a breakout story on the war making it harder to keep the lights on in Bangladesh. I kid you not. That was a nail biter. CNBC says forever war. Democrats rebut Trump's assertion that Iran war nearing its end. Reuters, Pentagon tells Congress no sign that Iran was going to attack U.S. first, comma, sources say. I mean, it's literally a nonstop barrage of garbage, basically thrown in your mouth every single day. Why is it not moving the needle, darn it? You got the Democrats, the deep staters, the media, all of whom are the same people, right? Totally pissed about this. Well, tremendously popular. What's that? Polls show MAGA and the GOP overwhelmingly back Trump's Iran Operation Epic Fury. But wait a minute, it's not just us. It's not just we, the conservative people. It's the majority of everybody. We'll bury that down in the story from Breitbart. Here you go. Polling throughout the nearly 3-week U.S.-Israeli military operation against Iran has consistently shown near unanimous backing for President Donald Trump's decision to launch Operation Epic Fury among the MAGA base and overwhelming support among Republicans. While a new Rasmussen Report survey released yesterday finds that a majority of likely voters overall say the operation has been succeeding. That's a real kick in the pants if you're a lefty. Aren't you guys paying attention to what CNN is telling you? This is an outrageous assault on the Iranian people. They didn't do anything wrong. They weren't going to strike us. Trump is mean and he's a warmonger and we hate him. No, Iran has tortured people for half of a century and killed a lot of Americans. Rasmussen poll found that 61% of likely voters say the military operation against Iran has been successful so far, including 35% who describe it as very successful. The survey also underscored the level of public engagement with the conflict. This is it. People are paying attention. With 81% of voters saying they have been closely following the developments, including 49% who say they have followed them very closely, a group among whom support rises to 66%. So how are they going to smear the president now? Right? He took out what we thought was the entirety of Iran's nuclear capacity last year. That wasn't correct. Apparently, they were going to fire on us or fire on our allies, be very close to having a nuclear warhead. Unacceptable. Trump gave them many detours, told them to stand down, disarm. They didn't. And so, okay. You know, I'm pretty sure that's how you and I parent, right? When you say to your kids, I don't think you want to be doing that. This is the rule. You need to follow it. And if you don't, right, some shizzle in your world is about to get dirty. In regard to the current military campaign against Iran, have the U.S. military attacks been very successful, somewhat successful, not very successful, or not at all successful? All voters, 65% successful, including 69% of men, again, who always seem to have clarity as women are like, what? 59% of women, that was kind of a shocker. You know who also likes it? Well, 54% of Generation Z, voters 18 to 29, 54% say this operation has been successful. How about 63% of 30 to 39-year-olds, 61% of 40 to 49-year-olds, 50 to 64, 64%, and then shockingly, the oldest echelon giving the highest approval, 74%. This is very bad news for the deep state. They'll do anything they can to smear the military, to do anything they can to stain this president's legacy. And his legacy is to make the world safer via peace through strength. And if you don't see the strength because you don't want to see peace, well, you're going to feel it in a heartbeat. Cuba now still in the dark, still not having their power. Of course, what are they going to do? How are you going to get your grid resolved? How are you going to all of a sudden electrify an island that has for 50 years or longer been in the dark in many, many more ways than this? President Trump offering that olive branch, the same he offered to Canada, the same he offered to Greenland. You know what? We can absorb you if you'd like. Outrageous. Now, Trump playing his cards, seeing who at the table has similar Trump, flushing him out trick by trick. When we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program, Democrats fighting on the Senate floor to keep cheating in U.S. elections. All the wrong moves, ladies and gentlemen, next on the Wendy Bell Radio Network.
Alrighty, there you have it, folks. Let me go ahead and click on the Rumble link here and show you that this video does come from Wendy Bell
Vast majority
Radio.
of America.
I am following her channel. I've given her a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. Okay, jumping back here, let me show you that these videos here, the links are in the description box as well as the links to the producer's channel. So if you want to see the more information from them, by all means, you can do so. And these videos that I've shared with you here are videos that I've posted on Murtech.com, where I have over 40 no-nonsense, common sense, logic, and truth videos. Now, I'd like to share all this information with you, but unfortunately, I just don't have the time to do so. But that's why I've put together my daily news wrap-up, where I have, says 22 videos in here, and about 10 or 11 hours worth of great information. I'm going to start off with Wendy Bell, where we left off during my podcast, and then go on to Dan Bongino, Greg Hunter, USA Watchdog, CV Vax Clot Cover-Up, now criminal. All right. Shocking update from American Center for Law and Justice. What is happening on Capitol Hill? A dog and pony show, I can tell you that right now. We the People News, X22 Report, News for Reasonable People, Black Conservative Perspective, and Quarters Effects. A lot of great information in here, folks, so don't miss this. Go ahead and take a break right now. Grab a donut and a cup of coffee, or a sandwich and a soft drink, or a beer, or a nice glass of wine and some cheese, and meet me back here in about 15 or 20 minutes, and we'll get this going. Give me a chance to get this set up in Rumble Studio. But in the meantime, I do want to thank you for being here. Hopefully, I will get to see you again later, and may God bless.